Hi, I'm Victoria, the host of Listen Up Homebuyers, and I'm so happy to have with me today Daetara Johnson. She is a personal lines account manager at Joseph W McCartin Insurance, located in the DMV area. And for those of you outside of that area, it's Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, and Maryland. So, Daetara, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Victoria.
Because I work with many first-time home buyers and with only buyers as an exclusive buyer broker, a lot of questions come up about homeowners insurance. Can you give me, first of all, an overview of why people need homeowners insurance?
Of course. So homeowners insurance is going to protect a person's probably biggest asset that they'll ever have, which is their home. And we want to make sure that if there's, a fire, if there's theft, if there's water damage done to your home, that you have that protection in place so that you can have your home repaired or replaced as it was, before.
Mhm. When someone is buying a house, there are a lot of costs that are coming up, with the purchase of the property. When do you pay for your homeowner's insurance?
That's going to depend. So if you are going through, I'm sure you know, is the escrow process,
Hmm.
it's going to basically be billed to the mortgage company. And usually within like about a month or so, that's when they usually pay. If you're going to be paying out of pocket, not being escrowed, then you're going to pay that directly to the insurance company. And it just depends on whether or not you want to pay that upfront just because you have the funds, or if you want to just
Hmm.
wait a little bit and be billed for it.
Okay. So if I'm a first-time home buyer, how in the world do I know what kind of insurance I need?
Well, the one thing that we recommend is speak to an independent broker. We say independent because we have different carriers that we work with so that we
Mhm.
can give you not just the best price, but also the best coverage for what you need, depending on what kind of home you have.
Mhm. Mhm. And can you elaborate on that? If I have a detached home that is brick, is that different than a detached home that's predominantly made of wood?
That is going to be different. And then we also think about the fact that if you have like a townhome versus a condo or versus a single family home, you know what I mean? And then
Mhm.
also the style of the home is going to be a big factor in how we quote the home and how we insure it, because a brick home is going to be a little bit more sturdy. So it's not going to necessarily need as much protection in certain areas,
Mhm.
but an aluminum siding home may need more protection, or even, a log cabin may need more protection too.
Wow, interesting. Yeah.
Mhm.
So if somebody is purchasing homeowners insurance, they're going to talk to an insurance agent, and that agent is going to ask them a lot of questions. And sometimes those questions come back to me.
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit about what an agent would be asking a first-time home buyer, or really anyone who is purchasing a property.
Yeah. So our agency likes to focus on the home itself, obviously. So essentially, the first thing we're going to ask is the age of the roof. That's a big one, especially
Mhm.
nowadays because roof ages, they are being insured a little bit differently. It's more on an actual cash value basis nowadays because
Oh,
of the economy. So we like to make sure that the roof is at least 25 years of age or newer. You're going to ask about the type of electricity that is in the home, if it's a circuit breaker, if it's a fuse, one of those two.
hmm,
We're also going to ask, of course, the regulars, the address, who's going to be living there.
right.
And then we want to know when the home is closing, whether or
Hmm.
not you're going to be in escrow or if you're
Hmm.
going to be paying out of pocket yourself. And then also, too, if you have any pets, if you have any cats, if you have any dogs, especially dogs, we want to make sure there's no biting history involved with the dog that you do have, because a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of liability claims that we take as an insurance company is for dog bites. So we got to take care of
Interesting.
that. Mhm.
So if I have a dog and he's bitten a few people and those people have had claims, that could keep me from getting homeowners insurance coverage?
Correct. Yes. The number one thing that's going to prevent you from getting homeowners insurance is claims history. And the number one liability is dog bites here in Maryland. So
Wow. Could you elaborate on that a little bit? Because that's
yeah,
interesting to me.
it's a liability claim. So
Mm,
you want to ensure that you have a great amount of liability on your home for protection. Our
mhm,
agency starts around $500,000, so 500,000 is what we recommend.
mhm,
And then we like to make sure that you have additional protection in the form of maybe like an umbrella policy.
mhm,
So we ensure that as long as you are properly insured, you would have that protection in case of a liability claim. So like a dog bite or a slip and fall, or, even if, let's say, for example, you hurt somebody accidentally on the other side of the world, your homeowner's insurance covers that liability.
Wow, interesting. Now, are there situations, and it sounds like I may know the answer to this already, where a person could be denied homeowners insurance?
Yes. So there's a few. So denial is definitely, like we said before, with claims. And then there's also, just depending on the state of the home. We have people who purchase homes that they want to like rebuild and renew, and there are some companies that do not take those risks. So that's why I mentioned earlier that working with an independent agent is great, because we have different avenues, different carriers that we can work with, so that as you're building your home, you have that protection, and then once it's done, you can be at a more favorable rate, so to speak, because it can be a little bit expensive to insure a home that's being built.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, you have those options working with an independent agent.
Wow, interesting. And, with climate change,
Depending on the type of roof and siding that you have additional siding and roof protection.
mhm,
We write policies at our agency that specialize in having additional siding and roofing protection.
mhm,
Like I said before, an aluminum siding house is going to have a little bit more of a problem versus a brick side. So yeah, you're going to want to have that protection in place just in case something does happen. We like to look at the house itself. We like to just see what we can find, go online, go on Zillow, or ask the customer for pictures and just see exactly what we're working with so we can give them the correct coverage for their home.
if a home has flooded several times, or even
Mhm.
maybe just once, is that property becoming, could it not be insured?
If we are talking about just like prior to purchasing the home, we would have to see whether or not there has been mitigation work done that is properly in place.
Mhm.
If we're talking about after the home is purchased, what we have to define is the difference between a flood and a water loss, because
Mm,
there's a difference, and
mhm.
a lot of our customers aren't aware of that. So, just as for definition purposes, a flood is a natural occurrence, a natural body of water that's going to affect two or more properties. So
Mhm.
it's not just always a house, but just the property itself. That's a flood that's naturally occurring.
Mhm.
Um, a water incident can be like a sewer backup claim. So like your
Right.
sump pump goes bad and it just
Right.
backs up water into your home. That is something that you have to consider, especially because I say Maryland mainly because that's mainly what we write in. But Maryland, it's recommended to have sewer drain backup coverage, whether you have a basement or you do not.
Right.
It's best to have. If you have water coming through your foundation or your walls, double check your insurance because they may not cover that. A lot of our insurance companies do not cover it because it's a foundation issue, and
Mhm.
that's something that has to be worked out with a contractor 100%. So I want
Interesting.
to,
Are there actually properties that just will not be insurable?
yes, most definitely. It's just
Mm.
going to be how dilapidated the property is, whether or not it's prone to flooding, whether or not it's prone to just have damage that, you know what I mean? If it's
Yeah.
if it's consistently being flooded and it can't really be remedied,
Fixed.
then
Yeah.
yeah,
Interesting.
exactly. I would always say that whenever you're purchasing a home, just double check with your broker because they're going to be the main people that know, and
Mhm.
then just check with us. And we write insurance through FEMA, which is through the state. So we're going to be able to assist you with that process, no problem.
Okay. So, in order to check to see if a house is going to need flood insurance, first, I would check the tax map to see if it
Yes,
already has flood insurance, and then, of course, coordinate with you, the insurance professional, and to get the opinion on the property.
correct. That's
Yeah.
that's perfect. Yes.
Yeah. What's the difference between homeowners insurance and hazard insurance?
We get this question a lot, and the simple answer is there's no difference. They're the same exact thing. So, whenever you think of homeowners insurance, it equals hazard insurance. It's the same thing.
Oh, it is the same thing. Okay.
It's the same thing.
Okay. Let's say the value of a home goes up, which they're doing right now a lot. Um,
Yes, they are.
do you need to adjust your homeowner's insurance?
So, here's what I'm going to say. If your home value naturally goes up, we have inflation guard built in. Most insurance policies do. So we're going to be able to keep up with the market. But what I will say to that as a caveat, if you have done some significant, renovations to your home, and I say significant as in $5,000 or more, please
Okay.
let your insurance company know, because we're not going to be able to cover you in case your home burns down, so to speak, and you've made all these renovations. We have to build you back up to how it was before you made them. So let us know so we can just insure your house properly and notate that,
Okay.
in your file, so to speak.
So when someone is doing a major remodeling job where it affects the plumbing and the electrical and maybe even the structural foundation of the home.
It really depends what exactly is being done. If you are basically just doing a total overhaul of your home, we
Yeah.
have to take that into consideration, because essentially you're changing it. You know what I mean? You're changing the entire structure of the home, and we've had that happen. We've had people tear down their homes and rebuild them into something completely different.
Does it need to go through whatever county you're in and have proper permits pulled in order for the insurance to still cover work that was done?
From what I know, yes. Like, we need to know that it's legitimate,
Yeah.
basically. You need to know that it's a legitimate thing that
Okay.
you're doing, not that, like, it's just you and your friends just tearing down your house and
Right.
rebuilding it.
Right.
It has to be legitimate. So that's why I say like blueprints and stuff, because most of the time a blueprint's going to be given to you by a professional, like a
Sure.
professional contractor.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anything that I haven't asked you that you think homeowners should know about homeowners insurance?
Yes. So I just want to say a few things. Number one is always talk to an independent agent if you have one in your area. We say independent because, like I said before, we have options. So we can place you in different companies, not just one.
I see.
And then also, two, we want to make sure that you understand what storm deductibles means. A lot of people are, when it comes to deductibles, they're like a little bit like confused, and I get it. So be aware your policy has a direct deductible, whatever you choose it to be. 1,000 is standard for most home buyers, but storm deductibles can be anywhere from 2 to 5%, and that's 2 to 5% of the dwelling amount.
Oh,
Not, yeah,
that's
not
a
the claim itself.
chunk of change.
It's a lot. It's a chunk of change. So just keep that in mind when you're purchasing a home. Storm damage is major.
Yeah.
We talked about roof and siding before. Make sure you have that correct, that protection. And then also too, making sure that your home, depending on the company that you go with, my agency mainly works with Erie, and we have something called guaranteed replacement cost. And what that means is, if your home, something happens to it and it needs to be completely rebuilt, we're going to build it up to the way it was. Doesn't matter how much the cost is. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So guaranteed replacement cost is amazing, but there are other places that only do replacement cost, or they have other layers. So just figure out what you're getting when it comes to the replacement cost of your home, so you're not confused, because it can be very expensive, especially nowadays with how the economy is going.
And it's also very confusing. A lot of the choices almost have their own, I would say, their own descriptive words. And if you don't know what that means in insurance language, it could cost you a lot of money. So I suppose really the key is working with somebody that you can communicate well with, who is, like you, obviously, somebody who's going to explain all these options to you, so you really know how to make the right choice.
I agree. Now, what I will say with the replacement cost, kind of just to keep it a little bit simple, because there are various ones. Guaranteed, like I mentioned before, is it does not matter how much it costs, we're going to cover it for you. It's guaranteed.
Okay.
Replacement cost is only going to cover about maybe like 100 to possibly 125% of what your dwelling was at that time of loss. So if your dwelling's $200,000, it's going to cover $200,000 to rebuild your home. And like I said, there are other avenues. There's something called actual cash value. So how much your home actually is valued at. We don't recommend doing that because it can be a little bit wonky. Let's not do that. But yeah, we just want to make sure that you're insured properly. And always, this is another tidbit too, remember that your home is not based on value per se when it comes to the market, but it's based on the replacement cost and based on the materials.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we go by that. So even if your house is, selling for $500,000, materials wise, it may only cost like 400,000. So
Hmm. Okay. Good to
that's
know.
best to keep in mind. Your homeowner's insurance, it's not a maintenance policy. We just want to put that into place. We want to make sure that we put into place a policy that is used mainly just for just major things. So, if like you have a peril such as a tree falling on your home
Right.
or a fire or theft or severe water damage that you cannot afford, that's when you want to go to your insurance company, or even theft of certain items like jewelry
Hmm.
that you have your policy. You want to go to us for that, but just be aware that it's not for maintenance. You know what I mean? Also, to remember that claims do add up. So just be aware of that. That's another reason why I said we want to make sure it's on the maintenance policy, because claims do add up. And if they add up, you can be surcharged, which means you can be charged a lot of money because of so many claims. So like I said, be aware of that.
How many
And
is
be
too many?
aware. Oh goodness. It depends on the company, honestly. And it also depends on the type of claim too. Water
Mhm.
losses are huge.
Yeah.
They're one of the biggest causes of claims. Water losses and roof claims are the two
Mhm.
biggest ones, actually.
Yeah.
So, like I said, frequency is going to matter. So that's
Yeah.
why we have to be careful about how many claims we file.
All right. So you can't do more than 5.
I
You going to give me a number?
would say maybe like 2 or 3 is just
Gotcha.
is,
All right.
but like I
Just to
said,
have
it
an
depends on the
idea.
company. Yeah,
Okay.
just have an idea.
Daetara Johnson, a personal lines account manager at Joseph W McCartin Insurance, located in the DMV area. Thank you so much for joining me today on Listen Up Homebuyers. It has really been educational.
Thank you for having me, Victoria. I appreciate it. Thank you.